So now, ladies and gentlemen, live and in colour, it's Mr. Wayne Lovejuice.
The other day I produced a Louis, had a chat with an interesting chappie who said that the YouTube algorithms really aren't that happy. If a channel only broadcasts once a week, so we decided we can text ya whenever we've got a piece of news in our new book on the Track Extra. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of On the Track Extra. My name's John Downs, and I'm the director of the Centre for Fortean Zoology, and for the last 30 years we have been travelling all over the world looking to see if we can find out the answers to some of the great mysteries of Mother Nature. However, I want to bring you a mystery that's far closer to home today. This is my old friend Mark Rains, and as you can see, he spends a lot of his time videoing the birds in his back garden. And today he sent me this rather nice piece of footage of the murder of crows that lives in his back garden, most of the time reacting to a seagull that has just come in out of the blue. Interesting and quite a nice piece of footage. Nothing that anybody could object to, right? He posted it up on Facebook like he does with quite a lot of his bird videos, and it was almost immediately taken down because Mark had allegedly somehow contravened the standards of taste and decency which Facebook holds so high. So Mark, thinking that must have been some mistake, put it up again, and again it was taken down for contravening the policies of the algorithms who seem to run Facebook in the absence of any human intelligence. How can anybody think that a picture of 4 or 5 crows and a seagull in a back garden in Holsworthy is offensive to anybody? It's not even offensive to crows or seagulls. It's a nice piece of footage. It's a nice slice of a misty May morning in Devonshire. What the bloody hell is going on? Another friend of mine, the famous author C.J. Stone, Chris Stone, wrote an open letter to Mark Zuckerberg a couple of weeks ago, and we included it in the most recent edition of Gonzo Weekly, the magazine I edit. I would seriously suggest that all of you guys out there, any of you who are even the slightest bit concerned about the eroding away of our individual freedoms, should have a look at what he's had to write. And I would also urge all of you to join me in writing a letter of complaint to Mark Zuckerberg. And until then, you can watch this piece of footage by Mark Rains anytime you want, just by watching again and again this episode of On the Track Extra. But now, back to what we were meant to be doing on this episode of On the Track. Another book review. What are we talking about this episode, Richard?
A Book of Wonders. Phenomena. A Book of Wonders by John Michell and Bob Rickard of Fortean Times fame.
I was very fond of John Michell. He was one of the great men of 60s and 70s Forteana, and I knew him quite well. We got drunk together on several occasions. Last time I saw him was at a big cat conference in Leicestershire, which for various reasons I won't bore you with, I ended up being the compere for. And I spent a large portion of one afternoon in the bar of this pub with my late wife and with John Michell. And John Michell not only got me to pay for all his drinks, but then drunkenly tried to seduce Karina, which I thought was massively funny. Karina, God bless her, she didn't even realise he was trying to seduce her until I told her later on. And John, I really miss you, man. You were one of the great men of letters of my lifetime. You were described as being like a 20th century William Blake, and I can see that. I can see that quite a lot. But this is not one of John Michell's typical books. It's co-written with Bob Rickard, the founder and still founding editor of Fortean Times. Tell us all about it, Richard.
Well, it's a collection of writings on various Fortean phenomena. It's from 1977, which is, I think, is when Forteana was at its peak in the 70s, and Fortean Times was still a little magazine that you could only get through the post and through specialist shops. I think it was at its most charming then. But we have wonderful things like mysterious flows and oozings.
I'm sure you are very interested in mysterious flows and oozings.
And it's got all these lovely old sepia photographs in and drawings and old Victorian drawings. It covers all sorts of things: sea serpents, poltergeists, cattle mutilation, weirdly moving rocks, the Surrey puma, black dogs, fairies, werewolves, spectral armies and sky battles, cities in the sky, fiery persecutions.
What on earth is a fiery persecution, Richard?
A fiery persecution, spontaneous outbreaks of fire, are a familiar feature of poltergeist disturbances. In the dramatic case of the Dagg household in 1889, the investigator, Woodcock, made a public statement citing no less than 17 witnesses to the effect that fires have broken out spontaneously through the house. Fiery persecutions.
Goodness gracious.
Images that weep and bleed, falls of fish and frogs, missiles from the upper regions. It's back when people seem to still take a delight in Forteana, and skeptics weren't canonised like they seem to be now.
I've always wondered what the proportion of writing was on this book. Was it 50-50 with Bob Rickard and John Michell? I don't know. I've always vaguely wondered. But what I think probably happened, because John Michell because Bob Rickard even then was the editor of Fortean Times, and I think what probably happened is that Bob provided all the strange stories and the pictures, and then he and John Michell got together and wrote it together, because I know both of them. I knew John, he's dead now, and I can see both their fingerprints writ large across this book. This, together with their other book, Living Wonders, has been republished by the people who do the rough guides, and it's called The Rough Guide to Forteana or something. It's nowhere near as charming or as gripping or as totally all-enveloping as this book and Living Wonders. And so if you're going to go and buy it, I truly recommend that you go out and buy the original editions rather than the new ones.
It turns up on things like eBay and so forth from time to time, and you can pick it up in second-hand bookshops reasonably easily. And it also has a section on bodily elongation.
Richard, what is bodily elongation?
Bodily elongation and strange flows and oozes.
Well, what is it?
We have records that, under certain circumstances, especially in ecstasy, a body can be seen to elongate, it certainly can, or change shape. For example, in Sumerian, to the Congregation of the Rites of the Beatification of Sister Veronica Laparelli, died 1620. I really need my glasses for this, the print is tiny. Are depositions taken during the lifetime of the witnesses of her phenomenon. One states that while Sister Veronica was receiving her office, apparently with some invisible being, she was observed to gradually stretch out until the length of her throat seemed all out of proportion in such a way that she was taller than usual.
I've never come across anything like that. But golly, just having you read that to me has given me a new ambition in life. I want to see somebody in ecstasy having bodily elongations.
I want to see somebody in ecstasy having bodily elongations with strange flows and oozes.
And I think we shall leave it there before Richard does more and more double entendres and YouTube closed down our channel for being too full of oozes. See you next week.